Welcome to Comic Station, issue number 19 for May 8, 2013. I am Paul Nisi.
I'm Scott Cates of the Comic Station.
For our new releases, Pat Shan seems to be taking over our new releases here today. And instead of the review section, we actually have a recap for Free Comic Book Day. So stay tuned, I'll show you where to get some of those and what ones you might have missed. For today, for May 8th, we have, kicking off our new releases, we're going to kick off, we did the number 0, this is number 1 for X, Fight or Flight, number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. As with the number 0, very visceral, very gory. X, our vigilante, quote-unquote, hero, is still going after the mobsters, but now the cops are on his tail, as well as a reporter is on his tail. As with the first 0 issue leaving off, the mobster believes he's gotten the better of X by basically exposing him to the world. So now he has to fight that, not just fighting his enemies, but also the cops and the notoriety as well, although they're trying to keep a lid on it. This one picks right off. It's gory as ever. And it turns out he's not squeamish about getting cops out of his way. So he is not a typical hero. While he's quote-unquote doing good by getting rid of mobsters, he's going about it in a very, very vigilante way. It's just, overall, if you really want something that is gory, visceral is probably a better word than gory, but it's a lot of fun, it's quick, action-packed. The introduction of this reporter, she's going to be it's going to be an issue of, for the next issue, whether she is a friend or a foe. And I really like the artwork by Nguyen here. It's, like I said, very visceral, very, very well done.
I'll check it out. Generally, I'm not a big fan of gore myself, but I will check it out just because I'm curious, and I do like the artwork.
Yeah, I'd say it's visceral is probably a better word than gore. It's just he's not squeamish. So if you are, you might want to avoid it. Going on the other end, though, is Grim Fairy Tales Robyn Hood Wanted from Zenescope. This continues from Grimm's Fairy Tales Robyn Hood. This is picking up right after that. So Robyn is now back in the real world. She has set things right as far as the beginning of the book leaves off with King John being disposed, and she's back in the real world. Now she's back to being hunted. She's no longer the hero, because in the real world she had some altercations and now the cops are after her. So she has to contend with that. There's a little getting used to coming back to the real world there. As well as in Nottingham, it leaves off, and she's a legend. She's a story now, and that's where it starts off. But in the end, not all is well in Nottingham. Again, really nice. This is probably one of the best of the Grimm Fairy Tales right now. We also covered the Unleashed, so that's a whole new series going on. But of the original Grimm Fairy Tales, this is probably one of the better ones. Patrick Shand writes this, very well done. The artwork is great in here. Not as wow as Zenescope can get, but the storytelling is really well done. It can get a little lengthy at times, but it is done in such a good way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like the entire Zenescope universe.
Yes.
You don't sit down to read their books, like you're going to read War and Peace. It's fun, it's fluff, and it just follows along suit. I read regular Robyn Hood, I enjoyed it, and that's exactly what it's for. It is 15 minutes of escapism.
Yep, absolutely, and they do a great job of modernizing these fairy tales.
Absolutely.
Speaking of modernizing fairy tales, this is from Big Dog Inc. is Legends of Oz, the Scarecrow. Now, Scott recommended the Wicked West in one of his previous recommendations here on Comic Station, and this is the Scarecrow, which is an offshoot. Now, this is a, I believe, 2-issue offshoot, so it's not a very long, but it introduces the Scarecrow, gives more background on her as a character. It's a silent protagonist here. It opens up, she gets right off the stand, and you find out the world isn't very accepting of scarecrows. The town nearby, basically, the sheriff shoots her out of town, and you find a little bit about why when a quote-unquote good witch, not quite sure, says that she's special, and something overhears the good witch call her special, and it is a bad scarecrow. And as he put it, he opened up and saw inside his master's head, and that made him smart. So there's probably a little zombie cannibalism going on here, but of course, being with Big Dog Inc. and Legend of Oz, nothing is shown. The artwork is very pretty, very vibrant colors. The style is leaning towards childlike, but it's kids appropriate. The story is very simple and sweet, is probably the best word to put it. So it is all ages appropriate, but there is a little hint at what this scarecrow could be doing to make himself smart, and he can talk, which he attributes to being quote-unquote special and smart, and he keeps going on about that. So there is something going on in the background there, but overall this is actually, I would say this is probably teens or above, and I really liked it. Beautiful, again, not amazing artwork as far as the drawings, but the colors are beautiful.
Yeah, once again, for me, I like these types of series because it gives me a different twist on an old story. Everybody knows The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
This is nice. It's kind of a Western, kind of magical.
I do like this. She's a Native American. She's dressed really, it's really beautiful. I really like the, kind of look like tattoos to me on her. There might be something mystical about that,
Yeah.
but
It's a nice twist. I enjoy reading something. Give me the old stuff, but throw a twist. I mean, Grimm Fairy Tales does it. They do it. It just makes it for a nice, refreshing read.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in the intro, Patrick Shand seems to be taking over, because not only did he write the Robyn Hood Wanted, he also wrote this. He wrote The Legend of Oz Scarecrow. So he has two out of our 4 spots for this week's new releases. He gets an honorable mention though, because there is a third one, digital only. Family Pets on Comixology is a children's oriented book. It's a little mystical. It's about a girl. She's kind of a loner living with a foster. She's being fostered by her extended family basically, and there's a bunch of personalities going on, and then somewhere along the line the family gets turned into pets, and it's really cute. I think it's going to be a good one for kids. It explores a lot of dynamics about the family and maybe expressing herself. She doesn't always do that well. So Pat Shand seems to be taking over this episode. But we're going to leave off with Image's Shin music. In a rare move by Image, I am not too crazy about this. The artwork was a little confusing at times. Some of their character models seemed a little too alike. And the story was a little confusing. Really solid opening. I really liked the mystical artwork and everything going on, but then it kind of lost me. So I don't know if this is going to get me back. This might be one of those you need to get it in a volume to understand it. But as far as the first issue, I'm not too crazy about it.
Knowing that it's Image, I have not read it, but I've already had calls about people getting it. So we basically are down to 1 copy left. We haven't even opened up for tomorrow. But once again, I think that's a lot of people speculating on Image books, especially the number
It's
ones.
a rare move for Image to get something wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't be 100% all the time. I'll check it out just because it is. And we'll see where it goes.
Again, artwork is really nice. Story lost me. But alright, and we have, instead of our review section, we're going to go over some of the books you might have missed from Free Comic Book Day and a recommendation. In lieu of a review today, we are going to go over the Free Comic Book Day, see what you might have missed, and pick out some highlights. We're going to start out, first of all, there is the Overstreet Comic Book Marketplace. This is a list of comics available that you can purchase, and it's a lot more for the store, so you can forget those. We start off going from bottom up. We're going to start with the younger kids. Probably the most popular among the younger kids was Kaboom's Summer Blast, because it has a whole collection of comic books. So you get, especially the most popular one in the store here was Adventure Time. You also get Snoopy, Garfield, and some of the other small kids. So they did a good job as far as making a good selection here. There's a few black and whites, there's some Peanuts in here, so there's a good age group in there for the younger kids. Some of the other more popular ones was Strawberry Shortcake and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have an affinity for these because, especially Ninja Turtles, I grew up watching these on cartoons and I grew up with these, so I like to see them still around. Of course, Ninja Turtles is having a movie coming out, so that's a no-brainer as far as why they wanted to push that. And Strawberry Shortcake, I really like that they're bringing out, of course, younger books, but also, unfortunately, comic books have a stigma as far as they're a boys' club, and I like to see younger, more female-oriented books to let everyone know it's not all boys' club.
Right, exactly.
Maybe not one of the more popular, but I liked it, so I wanted to point it out, was Finding Gossamer. This one is from a smaller publisher, and personally, I just really liked it because the artwork was almost watercolor, and it's very Aztec inspired as far as the artwork goes, and I really thought the artwork was really nice in here. So when I showed a few kids this, they really dug the art style as well. So, and of course, moving up the age group a little bit into younger teens, I wanted to highlight Graphic India's Chakra the Invincible, mostly because it's from Graphic India. This is a publisher you wouldn't normally see on the shelves.
No.
So one of the beauties of Free Comic Book Day is to be able to get a mixture of such small publishers like this, as well as the bigger DC and Marvel. And I really like that dichotomy, that whole mix.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of DC, they had, again for the younger teens, this is Beware the Batman, and Teen Titans are mixed in. Now, this one had a little bit of a controversy because, again, kids saw Batman in big words, and they kind of missed the Teen Titans tie-in and maybe didn't pay too much attention to the artwork on the front. And they were expecting gritty Batman. And when you open it up, this is a teen's Batman. Much more the animated style. The artwork is not the same as the Batman comic books that are out now. This is a lot more, again, like the animated series style. But it's really nice. Decent job. And personally, I love the Teen Titans, especially the cartoons. I cannot get enough of those. So it's nice to see that they're still around, and I like it. I mean, this is really nice as far as giving the Teen Titans I like, because it introduces the younger readers to some of these more iconic characters, so that when they get into grow up a little bit and can read the Batman, they know some of the background on it. Moving up the age group, not quite to adult yet, is the Avatar. This is The Last Airbender, and it's from Nickelodeon, so it's tying in, of course, to some of their more current. This is from Dark Horse Comics, so they have Avatar: The Last Airbender, and they're going into more Zuko and his background with his sister and all. So I really like this, not just because I like the story, but also because it's a flip with Star Wars. So it's great for the young teens to have one and then come into more adult content here. And of course, Star Wars is still recognizable to a lot of children. So jumping right into the adults, of course, right away, The Walking Dead disappeared. Of course.
And that was the one we had the most copies of.
Yes, and I mean, just picks up and goes. I mean, it's kind of seems very much like it's just continuing. It's a little mixture of some other ones you might have seen before. So maybe nothing revolutionary, but of course that disappeared right away. Dark Horse Comics also had Mass Effect. They really like these flip ones, and they kind of had a little trick here, a flip one with 2 on the other side. So you have Killjoys and R.I.P.D., which again is having a movie coming out. So of course they wanted to push that. This one I wanted to highlight. This is the Steam Engines of Oz. I just really like it because it's steampunk, and I like that. The style and the artwork is really nice. The 2 biggest out there from the major publishers, of course, was Marvel and DC. DC by Superman, and Marvel by The Infinity. Now this is, of course, ties in to their continuing series, and again, these went pretty quickly. They put their A-team on this. I mean, I can't see any downside to the artwork. It doesn't seem any different than what they're really running now. So they did not skimp on that. Really nice to see. Of course, of the 52, one of them was a rare one, and we've highlighted this before, was Dead Man's Party. This is just issue number 1 for free in the free comic book day. So it's a little thin, so they might have cut out some. I haven't had a chance to look over it completely, but it's a quick catch up on the series. I really like Free Comic Book Day from the variety, like I mentioned, going from kids to adults, from small publishers to big publishers. But I also like that there's a variety. There's a lot of one-shots that come in, and then there are ones that are continuing. So here's a series that you might not be aware of, is Fubar. I like it. It's zombies, and it looks like George Washington is there, and that's a series you may not be aware of, and gets you interested in that. Valiant used this day to highlight their Harbinger Wars. So again, it's not a one-shot. It continues, and it's kind of introducing and letting you be aware of Harbinger Wars if you weren't aware of it already. And of course, probably the most blatant introduction of a continuation is actually Top Cow reintroduced Aphrodite 9 and IX, and gave away the first issue. Now the first issue will also release for purchase in stores later this month, and then continue on as a series. But I really like this because they gave away the first issue. So, Free Comic Book Day, if you missed them, a lot of these publishers, if you go online to their online stores, Comixology or Dark Horse Comics store online, they are continuing to give away a lot of these Free Comic Book Days for a limited time, probably the next week or 2. So if you missed any of these sound interesting to you, go online, check it out. They probably still have them.
Yeah, considering I know every comic book store around here sold out relatively quick. We did 1,500 books in about 2.5 hours.
So I just wanted to highlight some of these. If you missed Free Comic Book Day, or you missed picking them up, I wanted to highlight some of what I thought were the shining examples for different age groups and different variety. So we have a recommendation.
All right, this time we're going to go back a little bit in time. Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game, okay, and then I actually have a copy of Ender's Shadow here. What this is a fantastic series. This will work for your youngest readers. This works for adults. There's actually 5 books to this. There's Ender's Game Battle School, then there's Ender's Shadow Battle School, Ender's Game Command School, Ender's Shadow Command School, and then Ender's Game Gift. So this takes a story. This is a story of a future war between our planet and aliens far away. The adults on the planet are having a hard time figuring out how to beat the aliens, so they enlist small children and basically train them to fight a war, but the kids don't realize that while they are training, they are actually fighting the war. And Ender is the smartest kid and the best prepared kid. So it takes you from him being, and I mean young, approximately about 7 or 8 years old, up through a couple of years of training where he actually takes on the aliens without knowing it. So it's a really, really interesting story. It does continue after all the books. They came out with the Formic Wars, and I believe there was one other title I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's well worth the read. And like I said, you can sit down and read this and enjoy it as an adult. You could read this to your kids and have no worries whatsoever, because your hero is a small child. So it's really well done, regardless of Orson Scott Card's current status. I would suggest reading it, and then staying away from Orson until he gets himself back together.
Yeah, there's a bit of controversy going with Orson Scott Card. If you're not aware of it already, maybe go look it up.
Yeah.
Probably just let him do his thing in the corner and let him.
Yeah, but do read the books. They're well worth it.
But yes, absolutely. I really liked Ender's Game. I read this a lot of high schools. It's required reading, and I really like Ender's Game, the book, so a graphic novel is right up my alley. So, again, like you said, really good storytelling in that. And it is age appropriate for everybody. Again, it's required reading for a lot of high schools. Also, before we go, I wanted to mention a special thank you to Sean Weiland from Phoenix Risen Studios. He did our transition music over the last issue of Comic Station. You may have noticed that when the new releases and the end screens show up, there has been some audio there, and he did that for us. Their Phoenix Studios has a game out. It's on iOS and Android. It's Go Galago. It's a children's appropriate storybook shmup, basically shoot 'em up, and it's really pretty. Check it out. It's on iOS and Android, and it's free, so feel free to check that out. And thank you to Sean Weiland for doing our transitions. Alright. As always, feel free to leave any comments below. Let us know if we missed anything, if you'd like us to expand on anything. And as always, constructive criticism is always welcome. Let us know. We always trying to improve. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
See ya.